Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I've got for you a video that I definitely should have put up about a week ago, but it's a bit late, but I didn't get an ace in this thing until just now, and you're gonna see why in the video. I'm doing a tank review on the Bisonte C45, the brand new Italian premium heavy tank, which is obviously the first of its kind, the first Italian heavy tank in the game, and it will be followed up, I believe, in early 2021 by a tech tree of heavy tanks. I think starting at tier 7, maybe tier 8, I actually don't really know, and heading up to tier 10. But in this video, I'm going to be showing you guys what the tank is all about, compare it to some others, go through the equipment, and a brief look at crew skills. I don't really go into crew skills much anymore, A, because like they're fairly similar on most tanks, and B, because they're going to change soon, probably. Anyway, and then I've got some ace tanker gameplay at the end of the video, so make sure you stick around for that. If you do want to just skip straight to the ace tanker, obviously I will leave a timestamp in the description, just skip through to there, and boom, you're probably already watching the ace tanker gameplay, so what I'm saying right now is completely irrelevant. Lovely. So for those of you who are still here, I'll also be saying whether I think this tank is worth it or not. Obviously at the minute I want to say it is not worth it, because you have to gamble for it. You have to buy the Christmas loot boxes to be able to get this. Obviously some of you people's watching in the future, you may actually, like, it might not matter, like it might be just completely open for sale, in which case I'll explain that. But as of right now, guys, do not buy the Christmas loot boxes unless you need gold or premium time or something like that, so you're actually getting your money's worth and not just gambling to try and get this tank. Because I don't think I got this tank until my 80-something box. If you want to check my numbers on that, you can go and look at my opening 100 Christmas boxes video. I did it all live, so you can see when I got it. So obviously your mileage may vary. You might not get it. You might get it a lot earlier than I did. You might get it a lot later. For example, I can't remember what box they were, but for the T77, I got the T77 in my second box, and I only bought like 8. So I did all right there. But yeah, please do not just gamble for this tank. It is not worth like 70, oh god, what have I done? 70, 80, 90 euros, pounds, dollars, whatever you want for you to spend on boxes. Anyway, let's jump over into Tanks GG and we will check out the stats. So, first things first, guys. Obviously, this tank is an auto reloader. So, just as in a comparison, it's obviously not going to compare very favorably. So, please do just keep that in mind. Obviously, the gun I will go through and specifically what it's all about. But then, yeah, gun handling, mobility, armor, and health and stuff like that is obviously all relevant in the comparison. So, first things first. Bisonte on the left-hand side. I've then gone with Renegade next to it and the T77 next to that. Two fairly recent American Tier 8 tanks. One, obviously, the Renegade being a standard shot tank, and the T77 being an autoloader. I've also gone for the Progetto next at the end, just so you can compare it, as it's the only other premium auto reloader in the game as of right now. So first things first, the Bisonte has got a 105mm gun. This does 360 average damage, which puts it the same as the Renegade and the T77, which seems to be the new alpha damage that all the kids have these days at tier 8. Penetration 218, not too shabby. I mean, it's not great, it's not amazing, and 270 on the heat as well, which it could be better, could be a lot worse. However, it does have a 3-round clip, same as the T77 and the Progetto, with 3 seconds in between the shells, meaning it can do 1080 damage in 6 seconds, which is obviously not quite as bursty as the T77. Now, reloads wise, this says the reload time of a standard shell is 12 seconds. Now, obviously, this is the first shell, so if you just fire one shot, let the tank reload, one shot, let the tank reload, you're going to be loading in 12 seconds, which obviously is very not favourable at all to the 10 seconds on the Renegade and other tanks are a lot similar to this. You can see the DPM is obviously a lot further down, and that DPM is on a 12-second reload, not a 15-second reload of the second shell or a 17-second reload of the third shell. These, I would have kind of preferred them to do similar to the Progetto, if I'm not talking out my arse here, which is highly possible, which is the gap between the first shell and the second shell is a lot smaller, and then you get punished for firing the third shell. In this tank, it seems like you fire the first shell, and then as soon as you fire the next shell, you get punished for it. I'd have liked to have probably seen this at maybe 12, 13.5, and then 17, or maybe even 12, 14, 17, not 12, 15, 17 on the reload, because that it feels so punishing to fire more than one shot. As soon as you fire more than one shot, like this tank just takes so long to reload. Obviously, if you unload all of your shells, you're going to be loading for, I can't maths that quick enough, 43 seconds, which you're then, you're in with longer than the T77, and you've got longer time to actually unload the shells as well, so you're doing even worse than that DPM just there, which obviously is the auto reloaders kind of their thing. They're not a single shot gun, they don't perform as such, but they're also not a auto loader, and they don't perform as such. If you want to play it like a single shot, you're going to lose out. If you want to play it like an auto loader, you're going to lose out. You kind of have to play it in the hybrid, in the middle of fire shots off when you can, reload when you can, fire off when you can, reload when you can. And it's something to get used to on the Progetto, but I've found that the Bisonte, and a lot of people I know who have played it, it's a very different game in the Bisonte. It's different, and I'll come into that in a little bit. Shell velocity wise, very nice, 1055. I believe the heat is actually pretty decent as well. What are we at? 800. It's not great, but who cares? The HE rounds are actually really good at 105 standard penetration, which is very nice. 60 rounds ammo capacity. You're not going to run out of ammo in this tank. You can do 21,000 damage. If you run out of ammo, you've done something either very wrong or really right. One or the other. Onto the gun handling. 2.7 seconds aim time. Ugh, disgusting. Although, because you have got a 3-second intro clip, it does mean that you can obviously aim before your next shell loads in. One of, in my opinion, the worst things about the tank, 0.42 dispersion. Sucks. The amount of shots that I miss in this tank is just horrible, and that's not helped by the dispersions whilst moving, tank traverse and turret traverse as well, which are all worse than all of the other vehicles in this comparison, even than the T77, and that thing is not that good for that, I mean. 10 degrees gun depression, very nice. 20 degrees of elevation, very nice as well. Depression angles, very good. Obviously, fully traversable turret. Speed-wise, this kind of paints an interesting picture. 50 kilometers an hour forwards, 15 backwards, sounds really good. But then you look at your horsepower per ton, 12.4. Obviously, you equip that a bit, that's going to take it back down to probably like 12.2. Not ridiculously great, especially in comparison to the Renegade and the T77, which you've got to remember are heavy tanks as well. Ground resistances do make up for that a little bit. They are better than the Renegade and a bit better than the T77. Turret traverse at 26 degrees a second. Again, a little on the low side, to be honest. Same with the tank traverse, a little on the low side. It is honestly not that flexible of a heavy tank, and that will come into it when I show you my equipment setup anyway. Armour, I will come on to in a second. 1400 hit points, again towards the lower end. Bearing in mind you're a heavy tank and you have the same health as the Progetto. I think they definitely could have given this thing 1500 HP and no one would have really complained. Camera rating, nobody gives a shit. View range of 380. Again, they seem to be adding a lot more tanks in these days where it's kind of 380 meters view range, not your 390s and your 400s. So you are a little down compared to the Renegade and obviously a bit compared to the Progetto, but that is a medium tank. So again, the Progetto I more added just so you kind of see. It's obviously a medium tank, so it's in a whole different ballgame. You're more looking at the T77 and the Renegade here. Shell cost of 930 is slap bang in the middle of the T77 and the Renegades. Its money making potential was pretty good. Not as good as some tanks like the Patriot or I can't remember there's other really good money making tanks. The Revelarize is pretty good. Some of the older tanks with a higher credit efficient, like the Type 59 and the WZs, are pretty good as well. But anyway, you don't really care about that. So armor wise, that's the Progetto. I don't want that. The Bisonte. You can see straight away this thing has got a lot of spaced armor at the front of the tank. And yeah, its armor's, I'm going to go with okay. Lower plate, very weak. 120mm all along. If you get an extremely high roll on an HE of a KV2 or shooting up at it, you are actually going to pen this thing with HE from a KV2. Very unlikely, however, so, you know, don't count your chickens on that. Upper plate, not too bad. It's obviously worse outside. These white areas are where the spaced armor is over the top. Slightly worse outside of the spaced armor. Side of the hull isn't too bad either. 75mm of armor, which means you can actually side scrape pretty well in this tank. Like, you can get, if you put your gun over there like that, and imagine there's a wall there, you have to be slightly careful of the drive wheel, but it's still 200mm. Go a bit more. As long as they miss your lower plate, you're not doing too badly. Turret on this tank, pretty good. I have noticed that it's not as good as I first thought. Against tier 6s, 7s, and 8s, yeah, amazing. However, there are kind of, you can see on this armor viewer, these yellow strips that come down here. In the mantlet and this spaced armor here, you're not going through. There's 400 in some places, 250, something like that. Below the spaced armor, there are a couple of weak spots either side of the mantlet at only 230. It's these strips that, again, I've literally only just noticed that only 240 even behind the spaced armor. You go outside of that, again, you're looking at 300. But go above or below the spaced armor and you can actually pen this thing pretty easily. Now, this all does become a lot better for you as the Bisonte player when you're using your 10 degrees of gun depression. Again, if you can hide that lower plate, this thing's turret is awesome. When you start going up against tier 10s, firing heat and APCR, however, it does start to become a little worse for wear, but it is a tier 8 tank at the end of the day. But yeah, all in all, the armor is, I'd say the armor's decent. It's not good, it's not very good, it's not great. I'd say it's decent. It can work, it bounces shells, you can pretty well rely on the turret in most situations. Obviously, it's not impenetrable, it's not like an IS-7 turret, for example, or a 277, something like that, where it's just bouncing absolutely everything, or a chieftain. You are still going to take some shots that go through it, like I had a 140 just firing heat straight through it, and there's nothing you can do about that. Tier 10 tank destroyers aren't even going to need to fire premium to go through it. But in a decent matchup, it is pretty good. Anyway, that's pretty much all statistically that we need to go through. So we'll jump back into the garage. I will go through the equipment, touch on crew skills, and then give you my opinion on whether I think this tank is worth it or not. Back into the garage we go, and first things first, I'm going to go through our equipment setup. Now, I'm still kind of experimenting in this thing. I played a couple of games with a couple of games with one setup, a couple of games with another, couple of games with another, and then I think I've played about 50 or so games with this setup, and I'm happy with it. Obviously, again, your mileage may vary. I've gone with vents in the survivability slot just because they obviously get boosted. This thing cannot fit a gun rammer. I've then gone for vert stabs. Again, pretty obvious choice. And then probably more of a out there choice is a turbo. And that's because that takes my... I'm not going to demount it because it's just a waste of demounting kits. It's increased my horsepower per ton by, well, there you go, 0.9 horsepower per ton. A 45 horsepower increase, which... That's the main thing when I first got this tank. The main thing that I was really getting annoyed with it for was how sluggish it was. Honestly, I hated how sluggish it was. It just wasn't nice. It's still not great, but it just, that turbocharger just takes the edge off it. It's something that I feel like I notice more than I would anything else. The other probably main choice that I would personally go for is optics, although with spaghetti with meat sauce and a decent crew, which is now starting to get trained up, I'm at 424. I have literally just started training situational awareness, and obviously I'll get recon as well, so that'll probably get to 430, maybe 435. So view range isn't too bad. That is obviously as well with vents in the survivability slot. You could drop the vents and go for turbocharger optics. You could drop vert stabs and go for a rotation mechanism. That honestly wouldn't be a bad shout because, like I said, the turret traverse and the tank traverse are quite slow. You could probably go for vents, vert stabs, and improve rotation. I would even say on this tank, and this I don't think I've actually recommended this piece of equipment on any of the tanks yet, is the improved aiming, the just better accuracy, because even in my setup with the vents in the improved slot, blah 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 blah, we're still at 0.37, and honestly that sucks. So you could definitely go for the improved aiming if you wanted to. Even improved hardening as well. I've seen a couple of people rocking this. I haven't personally tested this out, so I don't know how good it is, but you know, it's always going to be decent having more hit points, better suspension durability, you know, all good things like that. So there are definitely options of what you can go for. I mean, if you're really like free to play and you haven't got any other piece of equipment, an enhanced gun lane drive, it will work. It will help. But my personal equipment at the moment: vents, vert stabs, turbocharger. I would say if you've got a less experienced crew or you do not want to run meat sauce, I would say probably go optics. And then, like I say, there are your other options if you want. Crew skills wise, to be fair, I'm not even going to go through crew skills. Your standard heavy tank crew skills, brothers in arms, get it as quick as you can. Then, well, get situation wise, Sixth Sense. Then I've gone for snapshot, smooth ride, and safe storage. Get those all as quick as you can. Then brothers in arms, then repairs, then whatever you want. I don't really care. You do you guys. Anyway, that is the Bisonte. Now, would I recommend this tank? As the tank itself, yes. I think it's a reasonably good tank, to be honest. Despite all of the statistically, I'd say it doesn't look that strong, but it's similar with the Progettos, of the fact that statistically it's not the strongest single shot gun, it's not the strongest autoloader, it suffers in places, but it just seems to work. I think it's that combination of being able to go, well, I see you've just fired, I'm going to put 720 damage into you and fall back, and there's nothing you can do about it. And then I'm going to reload, and then I'm going to come back at you, and I can trade single shot with you. Or if you decide to rush me halfway through, I can still put another 360 damage into you. It's that combination of being so flexible. The tank has got a decent amount of survivability, obviously. The fact that its turret armor is pretty good. And the 360 average damage on the auto reloader at tier 8 is very nice, because obviously the Progetto at tier 10 has 360 average damage. I'm not making that up. No, yeah, it does have 360 average damage, which again is very nice, but at tier 10 that is then obviously on the low side. With the Bisonte 360, it's pretty good. It's pretty good, to be fair. But anyway, I'm going to shut up now. I would recommend this tank if you can buy it. If you're just getting it out of boxes, please don't gamble it. Only if you need gold or premium or something like that. But yeah, let's go jump into the Ace Tanker gameplay. So, here we go, guys, into the gameplay. Now, we are attacking an assault on Erlenberg. You could not say any more disgusting words to me. Blech. I don't like assault that. Well, it's not that I don't like assault. I don't like assault on Erlenberg. And I don't like Erlenberg. And that sucks. However, it is a full tier 8 game, which is quite nice. There are 8 tier 8 heavies on each team, which is ridiculous. I'm platooned up with Tom. He's in his Bisonte as well, and this is my first ace in this tank, and I actually did it about 3 hours prior to recording this video, so you know. And it's something I have figured out, is that obviously this thing, one of the main issues I have with this tank when it's by itself is its DPM is really, really, really not good. Playing it in a platoon does kind of offset that a bit. Look at that. Fully aimed shot is lower plate. He fires at me on the move, and yeah. I put fire my second shot into that VK, and now as soon as you fire 2 shots, you feel so punished in this tank, and it feels like a massive game of like cat and mouse after that, where you're just catching up on reload. I don't know what I was doing there. You have obviously something I actually completely forgot to mention is the compensation mechanic. I haven't really noticed it that much, to be honest. It happens every now and again, but it's cool, but I don't really care. I don't know why I fired that shot against the T32 when I was so close to being loaded. It was ridiculous. And then the second one as well was just stupid, but the second one definitely should have penned. We see there the enemy Bisonte, easy shot into his lower plate. Same with me. If you shoot the lower plate, you're going through in pretty much anything that this thing can face. You saw how poor my DPM was when I was just firing the second shell off. Firing the second shell, waiting for it to load, firing the second shell, waiting for it to load. Like I say, you get punished so much more for firing the second shell again, as I just did, than you do in, say, the Progetto. My tactic most of the time in the Progetto is fire the first 2 shells and then reload if needed, because the penalty for firing the second shell is not that great. Whereas in this thing, the penalty for firing the second shell sucks. You really, really, really struggle. Now, we're on Armour, like I said, we're moving up this middle map. There's a very busy middle part of the map. And I get... oh, that was just shocking as well. Get penned by the VK100-01P, and my shell misses the drive wheel of the T44-100. The 50 TP prototype was kind of to blame for that. He did ram me, so I'm giving him a little bump just to remind him that I'm there. This IS-3 comes around the corner. I fire one into him, take his tracks off, fire a second one into him. And there's a drive wheel of a T32. I'm perfectly angled, so I don't need to worry too much. And I fire the third shell off. And that was probably a big mistake. In terms of DPM, it is a big mistake to do that. However, the damage was there in front of me. In these kind of poking fights, it's not always you get an opportunity that someone's going to make a stupid mistake like that and present such a clear and obvious shot at a drive wheel. Fortunately, this VK100 is going down. I think it's the Carnarvon Action 10 that's managing to kill him. That was a very speculative shot. I did not expect to hit that with my second shell on the T32, but that puts him to a one-shot. 50 TP finishes off the VK, and we're actually progressing pretty well. We're still losing the game overall. There's an object 4 and 6 on in D1. There's obviously these tanks that are chilling in the middle of the map, and then they still have control of the right-hand side of the map. At the minute, obviously, that is their cap side. So I've got 2 shells in. I'm again getting rammed by this 50 TP. He is an absolute numpty. If you ever see him in your games, then, you know, watch out. I fire the second shell, and then I don't fire the third. I actually wait for the second to come back in. Fire one, and then he comes around the corner. I know that he's just about to take a shot. So I think Tom put one in there, and then we finish him off. I do fire my third shell there because I know that there's nothing else that's I'm going to really be able to shoot at for anytime soon. So I fire that third shell because there's no point having shells left in the tank when there could have been damage done. I get ammo racked by the Barask, and he rolls for 404, putting me on 165, which means I do not now survive a shot from anything. Second shell goes back in, fire, and fortunately accuracy holds up, and we put one into the T34-3. Now I'm going to present to you guys a couple of problems that I have with the Bisonte. Just nothing to do with stats wise, nothing to do with how good or bad the tank is, but just how I feel when I play it. The reload sucks. There's so many times that I've fired off all 3 shells. Obviously I know that's my first mistake, fired off all 3 shells. You fire off all 3 shells and you think I'm not gonna be in an engagement for a little while. So you fire off all 3 shells, you then wait, you drive to your next engagement, and as soon as you get there you fire. and you realise that you're not actually even fully loaded from the last engagement yet, and you've just fired off your second shell again. And I've noticed that happens so many times, where it's just it just takes so long to reload. It just the reload is awful. It takes so long, and yeah, that just sucks really. This game, defending my equipment setup here, this game I haven't actually really used the turbocharger at all, which is something that obviously I run that most people probably won't. But it has definitely helped me in a lot of other games. Now, going back to the game for a second, 4,342 damage, not too shabby. Tom's got 3 kills, I've got 2. I really wanted to get the kill on the Brask there to get us the brothers in arms. I get spotted, so I quick dive into the lower grounds that this 416 is going to be firing at my turret. If he fires AP, he's going to bounce off my turret. If he's firing heat, he's probably got a 50-50 chance to go through in most places. Tom's on about 600 health still, so he can actually still take a shot from this guy. I have a look at the WZ light tank to see if he's going to be pushing, and he is not. I've got 3 full shells, so Tom just goes, you know what, I'm going to go in, I can take a shot. Fortunately, the 416 does get spotted. My first shell, no idea where that went. Put the second one in, and then Tom says, I'll put the third one in, and then I'll put one in, so we can pick up the brothers in arms. 4,772 damage, 750 assisted, and 2,220 blocked, which I believe most of that was at the start side scraping, which, like I said, this tank is actually pretty decent at side scraping. And there you go, that is the Bisonte. That's not actually the Bisonte in its ideal environment. Obviously, ideally, it would be on a ridgeline using its turret and everything like that. But even not in an ideal situation, again, it just seems to work. It's that Italian tank thing of it just works. It's the flexibility of the shells, even though the reload is horrendous on this. Honestly, awful reload. I hate it. It's so much. This is where I wish they'd have actually kept gun rammers for the Italian tanks, for the auto reloaders, but part of me thinks that they took the the gun rammers off the Italian tanks specifically for the heavy tanks, because obviously it's percentage based. So when you have the longer reloads, the percentage gets taken off a lot. It's the higher percentage, so the reload goes down by a lot longer time, which means you're on I think the proposed tier 10 is 490. So when you're taking 10% off that load time, that's actually quite a long time to be taking off, which does obviously improve the DPM. So yeah, but I would like to see this thing have a gun rammer, and then I think it would be about right in terms of DPM and what I would feel is nice for the damage. Obviously, can't have it always, and I think if this thing did have a gun rammer, it would probably be quite overpowered, to be honest. I think the reload is one of the limiting factors of the tank, along with probably the speed, and even arguably the gun handling, which when I say it like that, I don't actually know what this tank then has going for it, but again, it just seems to work. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to stop rambling because I feel like this has been a really long tank review. So we'll go take a look at the post-game stats. Yeah, we'll head over into what replays. So there we go, guys. That was me in the Bisonte. That was an ace tanker, but like I said, that is actually the first ace tanker I've got, and when I go on to the next screen, you're going to see why. 4,772 damage, very nice. 3 kills, would have liked more, probably would have made the ace easier, but still, nonetheless, not too bad. 2,220 blocked and 745 assisted, which made it 1,591 base, which is a very good base XP gain. However, Tom did 4,451 damage, also got 3 kills, and got 477 assisted, getting 1,402 base XP, and that was only a first class. So the ace is somewhere between mine and his game. So imagine having a game like Tom did, which was a very good game, and not even managing to get an ace. That's absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, between the two of us, we absolutely carried that game. Really, really good game between us. Brothers in arms as well, which is always nice. I made 305,000 credits profit that game. That's profit. And I want to point out that you will not be making that every game. That is, we were doing kind of, not an experiment, but we were making as many credits as we can. I got some for a mission. We had the Christmas bonus active. I had battle payments active, which is the clan reserve. I had personal reserves active. And we were also playing in a platoon. So that's why we got so many credits that game. But it is still, obviously, being a tier 8 premium is a decent money maker. I do run premium consumable, so any replays you see of me in this will hamper the money making slightly, because obviously I'm paying 20,000 credits a game to be a little bit better. And yeah, that is the Bisonte. I'm not going to keep going on because, oh my god, I've been rambling in this. I'm pretty sure this is almost half an hour long. I don't really know until I edit it together and go, oh god, that's an awful lot of Max speaking. Anyway, if you have enjoyed the video, guys, please consider giving it a like. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. And other than that, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.